fertilizer. The company exports cotton, cashew nuts, cocoa, sesame seeds, and ginger to several countries. Additionally, it has major investments in real estate, banking, transport, textiles, oil, and gas. On May 22, 2023, Dangote commissioned the Dangote Refinery, Lekki, Nigeria. The plant plans to export surplus petrol, turning Africa's biggest oil producer into an export hub for petroleum products. It also plans to export diesel, according to Dangote, who funded the refinery's construction. The refinery is situated on a 2,500-hectare site at the Lekki Free Trade Zone, Lekki, Lagos. It is supplied with crude oil by the largest subsea pipeline infrastructure in the world at 1,100 kilometers long. Dangote founded the African continent's largest cement producer. Aliko Dangote is regarded as an astute businessman with diverse interests who has contributed to the economy of Nigeria and West Africa immensely.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check only on Voice of the People television, where your health has a voice.
My name is Tao Familoni, and here's to VOP TV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
My name is Made Kuti, and you're watching BOP TV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Zika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector, from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy.
On your screen, introducing VOP TV, now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People television. Don't just react, understand. Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I. From social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
Hello there, good morning and welcome to VOP this morning. It's a beautiful Friday and I'm happy as usual that it is Friday. I get to rest well over the weekend. Now, thanks for joining us. Yesterday was Armed Forces Remembrance Day and it's a day set aside, for Nigerians to pay their last respects or their respects to fallen heroes who died or who paid the supreme price, to put Nigeria together. So in the next 2 hours, we have lined up very interesting trending stories. Some of them will make you happy, some of them will annoy you, as Moses will always say. And some of them will also give you hope to believe that Nigeria, all is not lost for Nigeria. Now, talking about the trending stories or the topical stories, yesterday was Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and VP Shettima, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, PDP Peter Obi honor fallen heroes. And when we move away from that, Nigeria's porous borders feeling insecurity, says Christopher Musa, that's the Minister of Defense. And when we move away from that, Nigerians to pay 7.5 VAT tax more at the bank while government clarifies tax suspension. Now, those are the major topics of discussions. But like I said, we also have other interesting trending stories that we'll talk about in the course of the show.
Yes, of course, other interesting stories. I am Moses Humphrey. Now, before we get into those interesting stories, Jane is also in the building. Good morning to you, Jane.
Good morning. Good morning, guys.
All right, then. So now let's dive into it now. For those other interesting stories, Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics has announced that the country's headline inflation rate eased to 15.15% in December 2025, down sharply from the staggering 34.8% recorded in December 2024. Now, following a rebasing of the Consumer Price Index with a new 2024 base year, while officials hailed the figures as proof of moderating price pressures, the reality on the streets tells a different story. Food and non-alcoholic beverages remain the biggest drivers of inflation, with families still struggling to afford basic staples despite the statistical drop. Well, the CPI rose to 131.2 points in December from 130.5 in November, showing slower price increases, yet many Nigerians argue that the so-called relief is largely technical, shaped by new methodology rather than cheaper goods in the market. Month-on-month inflation stood at 0.54%, lower than November's 1.22%, but traders and consumers insist that transport fares, rice, bread, and cooking oil continue to bite harder. The prices continue to go off the roof. Well, the price of a few of these things have actually come down. Price of bag of rice has reduced, but then the question will be from what to what, really? Because it rose above what it was initially, and then it reduced a little bit, but not back to what it was. And price of egg, like I was asking, I don't go to the market often. So I asked yesterday for how much it was now, a crate of eggs, and I was told it's around 6,000, about 6,000 naira.
Some people sell it for 7.
Some people sell for 7. I see, and that's another thing. Anyway, it's about 6,000 naira. But what was it prior to 2023? It was about 2,025. Mm-hmm. All right, so it rose, got up to 7,000, 8,000 at some point, and then some Nigerians spoke about it. Ugwamaye.
was brought out to be hanged for speaking about the high cost of eggs. Because, I mean, that's one good source of protein. If you can't afford meat and fish and the rest of them, eggs just makes up for it all. But it came down a little bit. 5,000, 5,500 in some places, 6,000 in some, 7,000 in some, according to Jane. And we're celebrating this. The question is, if we're celebrating this, can't it go back to what it was initially, or at least closer to what it was initially? Then it will be worth celebrating, really. But, well, inflation, according to the data, has dropped, which is one thing the government is celebrating. But Nigerians are not feeling it because the cost of goods continues to increase. The cost of living continues to increase. And the bad part in this inflation rate is that when the price of things went up, prices of transportation went up, prices of rentage went up, and these things don't come down. Yeah. Even if government brings down the cost of cement and the rest, what landlords collect will not, they will come down after giving you a certain amount for the next few years, and then the price of goods come down. They won't say, okay, now the price of goods have come down, let's go back to what you used to pay before. So that's why we should endeavor, endeavor that these things prices don't go out of hand. Now, with the new tax laws, there are fears that there might be inflation again with people deciding to keep monies in their pockets, in their homes, as against in the banks, and the price of goods going up because of the VAT. Well, NRS has come out to explain the VAT, but it's still not satisfactory as far as I'm concerned. 7.5% with the stamp duty charge that banks collect and the rest of them. All of these things will culminate into traders increasing their prices. And, service providers will also increase their prices. And when these things go up, they won't come back down. That's my fear.
Moses, I agree with you. I've lived long enough in Nigeria to know that once the prices of anything skyrockets, it rarely comes down. So I think as one who goes to the markets very frequently, the only thing I can say that has sort of stabilized is just a bag of rice.
Bag of rice, okay.
But aside from that, it's
like
about
60?
60, depending on the kg,
type, yeah.
60, 50. Well, there was a time it was 80, there was a time it was 90.
There was a time it was 100 plus.
It was even 100 plus. So I think the only way we can measure or agree with the government that indeed the inflation has dropped is when it reflects in the prices of goods. We are tired of all this beautiful data that they just bandy around. Nigerians don't want spreadsheets. We don't need all of those things. We need to feel it.
Indeed.
We need to feel it. It's not enough for the government to come out and just say, oh, inflation has dropped. Meanwhile, you go to the market. Sometimes you go with 20,000, 10,000, and by the time you finish buying, you're wondering, how did this money finish?
You can hold the nylon in your hand like this.
You can hold the nylon. There are times when I get home, I'm like, what did I buy?
What did I buy?
This is even me that can even afford a little. Then imagine people who are struggling, and now with this VAT they want to and it means that a lot of people will start keeping money at home, and it means that these traders will now start, hiking their prices because everybody wants to make a living. I don't know what the economic policy of this administration is, but it seems like there's so much hardship right from the day this administration came into power. From, taking out the fuel subsidy, right from then till now, we haven't really felt the impact of their so-called economic policy.
Well, we need to tighten our belt a little
We
longer.
need to, because it's going to get harder.
That's what the government said.
It's going to get harder.
That's what the government
pains for a while.
Yes.
Gains much
How
later.
many years have we spent in office
that is
now?
the problem. We don't see that. I like the statement Jane used that he said that the only price that has stabilized is that of rice. And at that stability at what rate now? At 60,000 naira. How much was it like 10 years ago? How much was it 2 years ago? Before the advent of this administration. I think that is the critical question that we should be asking. Well, Moses also said that the government is celebrating. This drop in inflation. It's not only the government that is celebrating. Baptists are celebrating too. People who believe in Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his economic policies And there are people who will do anything possible to let you believe that, look, that the prices of food items are coming back. You know, they tell you that, oh, their wives have started cheating them because when they give money, they give 50,000 naira last 2 weeks, and the madam went and bought something. When they came back, and 2 weeks later, he still gave the same 50,000. I'm coming. You give you the same 50, gave madam the same 50,000 naira, and when madam came back, he now discovered that, oh, the goods are more than they were before. You know, Nigeria. Okay, so what do you think is the secret?
The secret is that madam is adding her money.
Okay, madam, without telling Oga.
Without telling Oga, because if she relies on only Oga's money, everybody go hunger, go catch everybody.
For house, now that is a fact too, because I also have experienced that sometime. You know, I give money, and when my wife comes back, I say, what happened? He said, don't worry. And after some time, I will get to now understand what happened, which is what you have just said.
Money has been added.
It is a lot. Nigerians don't see these things. Nigerians don't feel these things. And like Moses said, we need to tighten our belts. Nigerians are ready to tighten their belts more. But the problem we have is that while the leaders are asking us to tighten our belts, they are loosening their own, you know, their belts, because their stomachs are getting bigger, you know, and all of that. And if you look at what is going on, there is no respite in sight. There's no respite in sight, because Nigerian people, the government in particular, let me talk about the government. Okay. Government will naturally cut corners. People in government will cut corners to ensure that they make more money. Look at the patterns that we see in the budget. Federal Ministry of Works, buying motorcycles, doing all sorts of national orientation agencies, Federal Ministry of Works. You see patterns everywhere in the budget. And you begin to ask, where are we headed in this direction? Where are we headed? Do you think that we will ever come out of this mess? I say that in light of the fact that people that started with us, I keep giving examples. I go to Latin America. These are people that have had independence in excess of 200 years, and they are still grappling. They are still having the same problems that we have. Meanwhile, Europe has been able to move away from all of these things. Europe is about the best place in the world. Okay. The best place in the world in terms of continents. Now you go to Asia. Asians are trying. You talk about the Asian tiger. It's no more about the tigers. Other people, you know, are getting in. Look at countries like Vietnam, even Cambodia. Despite everything that Salak Sow or Pol Pot did in Cambodia, Cambodia is coming up and they're exporting. They even have steady power supply. It's only in Nigeria that we keep going back and forth. And instead of the government to look at the real problems, government is trying to, you know, get into sophistry to confuse the people, to say, oh, we are doing well, inflation, headline inflation has dropped, and all of that. Before APC took over in 2015, what was the headline inflation? Single digit, about 8%. And by this time, December 2024, it was at 33.8%. So what's the difference? And we are told that economic policies, reforms, that they are going to yield benefits for how long? And they are living larger than life. And they are spending so much money, like $9 million, you know, to pay lobbies. Despite that, we hear that the United States government has devoted about $450 million to fight insecurity in several countries, including Nigeria. So apparently the lobby is not working. If it is working, they will take out Nigeria from that list. But Nigeria is included in that list. The lobby is not working. We are spending so much money. We are borrowing so much money. We are expanding the tax net. And the people that are receiving end of all of these things, the average Nigerian. Yeah, and I keep saying, well, it will get to a point. There's what we call mutually hurting stalemate. It will get to like two people are fighting. Most you and I are squaring, you know. And at a point, we'll look for who will come and separate us. That is, we'll get to that point. Then Nigerians will know what to do. Well, let's move away from that and talk about another also interesting trending story. Jen, take it from there.
Okay, the federal government of Nigeria has finally signed a renegotiated agreement with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, ending a 16-year stalemate over the controversial 2009 pact that repeatedly triggered crippling strikes across public universities. Under the new deal announced by the Education Minister Tunji Alausa in Abuja, professors will receive an additional 140,000 naira monthly allowance. That amounts to 1.7 million annually, while readers will earn 70,000 naira alongside a 40% salary review for all teaching staff. The National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, hailed the agreement as historic, praising President Bola Tinubu's intervention and urging both government and lecturers to uphold their commitments to avoid further disruptions. While the government insists the reforms will boost morale and stabilize the academic calendar, critics argue that the allowances highlight a widening gap between lecturers' welfare and students' harsh realities of overcrowded classrooms, poor infrastructures, and rising tuition costs. Should we be rejoicing over this?
Should we?
Should we really be rejoicing over it?
Should we be rejoicing over this?
Well, it's answer to the prayers of some of those lecturers in ASU. At least they get an increase in pay, and hopefully strikes and all of that will, stay off their agenda for some time, and students can go to school, get educated, and graduate. But what they have said, which is also what I will reiterate, is implementation of this.
Yeah.
Government shouldn't wait until there is another threat to strike or an actual strike before they now say, okay, let us implement. Because it seems to be what the government has been doing. They bait them. They tell them, okay, we're giving you this. And then after a while, government will be silent on it, and they clamor and ask for what they feel is due unto them, or what they know is due unto them, and it doesn't come. And they say, okay, let's down tools. The government says, okay, come, let's talk. Now, the government should be a lot more caring, all right? They have the ability to be so. So they should be a lot more caring and implement these things so people would not have to go back to the streets. Because ultimately, it's, like when they say, when elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. So if there's another strike, the young Nigerian who's aiming to graduate before a certain age and get a job and do other things with his or her life will be stuck in schools for longer. So implementation, the government should just go ahead and implement this very quickly too.
Yeah, okay. Now beyond implementation, to answer the question Jen asked directly, should we rejoice over it? I'm not sure that we should rejoice over it, because what it tells me from what I see, we have been living a lie, and ASU has been giving us a lie. ASU has always been telling us that, look, it's not about lecturers' welfare. But everything about this agreement is all about lecturers' welfare. Increment in salaries and allowances, emoluments and others. How about infrastructure? Mostly you talk about students not having to have downtime. They go and graduate. What kind of graduates are we producing? What is our rating when you look at, the international standards? When they talk about the first 500 universities in Africa,
should ASU chase government around to build structures?
No, yes, they should.
They should chase government around.
They should.
There's the TED fund. TED fund is there. So government should use that and build structures. So they should be concerned about their welfare.
No. Apart from being concerned about their welfare, they should also be concerned about their productivity. And when I say that they have been living a lie, ASU has told us that 80% of what they're asking for is about infrastructure and other things, and not about staff welfare. But from what we see, everything that they got is about staff welfare. So we've been living a lie, or they've been telling us.
Well, I will not agree with you on that.
No, but I just said it now. So what the quality of graduates shouldn't? We are on this program this morning. Are you not concerned about our deliverable? You should be. I know that you are ultimately concerned. You are evidently concerned, and I say it. So lecturers should be concerned. What quality of graduates do we produce? Like, if I'm not doing well in my presentation and all of that, and you ask me which university did I finish from, I tell you I finished from University of XYZ. And my lecturer is out there looking at me, oh, this man has just embarrassed my university. I'm telling you, you get the point. So lecturers should be concerned about the quality of graduates, and we have always said it. Some of our graduates are not even educable, even at the work level. You see, companies employ people, they have to take them through 6 months training again. Why? Because they are lacking in a primary skill that they should have gotten as undergraduates and all of. So it's a big problem, because very soon, apart from, I know that there will be a problem of implementation. There will be that problem, because in Nigeria, it's very easy to sign agreements. At some point, government told us they didn't sign any agreement with ASU. Until ASU went and brought out the document and said, is this not the signature? You people appended it. And so we are back to it again. So I'm sure it's going to be a temporary thing. It's going to be a law. And after that, probably 2 years or so, they will go back to it. When you get into a classroom that is supposed to take 40 students, I have over 120 students stuffed in that classroom. Lecturers will start complaining again. So, but like you talked about TED Fund, I like the fact that we have TED Fund. And oil companies, big majors, multinationals are contributing to TED Fund. So what do they do with that money? Because the lecturers, apart from government, also have a share of the problem. If you get into universities, look at the lecturers' quarters. Some university vice chancellors live better than governors. I tell you this on good authority. Some of them have convoys and all of that. So when they get the money, and like I say, they are also internally generated revenue. What do they do with that money? Because I have students in the university, I have kids in the university. After paying the school fees through Remitter, there are other fees that you pay directly to the university account. What do they do with it? They still contribute money on their own to pay a lawnmower to come and mow the lawns in school. So it's a bit difficult for people to understand, but it's good that this could be a talk-off point. So let's see how far we can travel.
I think this will. I want to be on the side of the lecturers this morning. I think those that have decided to stay and lecture, they are doing the best they can.
Okay.
Now, this increment, I think it will go a long way in inspiring more people to want to be lecturers, because a situation whereby lecturers are poorly paid, you won't have the best brains in there. The best brains will find a better way to earn a living. So when you don't have the best brains in there, how then would we now, expect graduates, expect the universities to churn out graduates that are world class?
100%. I agree with you. So if you have the best brains will ordinarily not produce the other best brains in an environment that is not conducive. It's good. This is good news to the lecturers.
So we should rejoice about it. They should rejoice about it. They should rejoice, but it doesn't solve our problem.
I think so. I think this is just a welfare improvement, but we still need that systematic reform, a system reform, a reform of the whole education system in Nigeria. So let's
get into, we're out of time, but let's just get out this information so that Nigerians will be more careful. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, has confirmed that 215 Nigerians lost their lives to Lassa fever in 2025, with a disturbing case fatality rate of 18.7%, higher than the 16.3% recorded in 2024. Well, despite the decline in suspected and confirmed cases of 1,148 confirmed out of 9,389 suspected across 22 states, 107 local government areas, the rising death toll underscores the stubborn grip of this viral hemorrhagic disease on communities, particularly in Ondo, Bauchi, Ebonyi, Taraba, and Nasarawa states, where fresh outbreaks were reported in late December, that's last year. Health experts warn that the disease spread through contact with food or household items contaminated by rodents continues to thrive due to poor sanitation, weak surveillance, and limited access to treatment facilities. Well, NCDC, they've put out this information. It's quite unfortunate that we still had to lose this number of people, due to Lassa fever in the year of 2025 alone. 215 people, that's a lot. Now, these are reported cases. I do know that we also have other unreported cases. Well, the problem here is that the issue is due to poor sanitation, where you have rodents. And we walk through the streets of Lagos, streets of other states in Nigeria, other cities in Nigeria, you see rodents, in where we live, everywhere around the corner. And these are the carriers. And, it was Ebola that we were able to fight to a standstill. But Lassa fever, springs up here and there, here and now often. NCDC, I'm not sure that they are doing a good job, but still don't have a handle on this. But we shouldn't leave it to NCDC alone. It's a collective responsibility. Keep your environments clean. We used to have monthly sanitations until some lawyers went to court and said, no, you don't have the right to close down the cities and states because you are doing sanitation. That time, I think it was a lot easier, for people to come out and clean their environments. Nigerians typically, if you don't push them, they don't do things.
And it's a bad thing. People to always be prodded like that to do things. The mountain sanitation did a lot of good, but then the restriction of movement and all of that, because there could be times when there would be emergencies, but you wouldn't be able to go out. So I think Lagos State was mooting the idea of introducing or reintroducing monthly sanitation at some point without the restriction of movement. But I don't know how that one went. So I think people should be, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, compelled to keep the environment clean. I pass by places sometimes, and I see refuse, around, littered all over the place, and the bin is just there. So the bin is there, but nobody wants to be the one to clear the refuse and put them in the bin. And we all should be responsible. I mean, we all it's not just about talking. It's we all should be responsible. We all should play our parts without looking at what the other person is doing. Because in some cases, you start to do these things and people just feel, oh, it's your own responsibility. Since you want to do it, just go ahead and do it. I mean, I have personal stories I can share, but I don't want to do that on national TV.
Okay.
Right.
I like what you said, like player on part. In South Africa, they have this agency. I think the acronym of that agency is what, but the thing is player on part. If everyone plays one's part, the country will be a better place. Don't always expect or wait for the government to do everything for you. Anyway, let's quickly run to the papers and see what the headlines are saying. And we'll start with the Nigerian Tribune with the window headline. Article's son, Abba, dumps PDP, vows to mobilize for Tinubu's re-election. That's huge. His decision to join APC is personal, ex-vice president. I like that. VAT is on charges collected by banks on customers' transactions. That's coming from the NROS. And the big story here, relief for exporters, importers, banks as Nigeria exits EU financial high-risk list. I'll check that again for emphasis. Relief for exporters, importers, banks as Nigeria exits EU financial high-risk list. With the riders, national economy to grow by 4.7%. That's coming from the finance minister. Says the country has shifted from stabilization to consolidation. That's good. Headline inflation is to 15.50% in December 2025. That's coming from the NBS, National Bureau of Statistics.
Okay.
Shettima, Akpabio, governors, service chiefs, others honor fallen heroes. ADC raises concern over president's absence. Opado Kun's gun hegemony rekindles debate on federalism and democracy. Alaafin absent as Olubadan emerges chairman of your Council of Obas and Chiefs. Makinde reverse cancelled 15 years after. 2026 budget, 344.8 billion naira returned for National Assembly. Science, technology, innovation to spend 838.6 billion naira. Foreign affairs get 344.04 billion naira. And that's it from the Nigerian Tribune.
And on the front page of the Vanguard today, still talking finance, 152 trillion naira debt driven by foreign rates, adjustments and reforms. This is by the
forex rates.
Yeah, by the finance minister. And still there, Rivers Assembly fails to resume amid impeachment saga. Tinubu, Shettima, governors, others pay tributes to the fallen heroes. Abducted doctor in Edo regains freedom after 50 million naira ransom. And
all right, so let's go to another paper now. The Punch has these headlines. Counterinsurgency campaigns. U.S. votes $413 million for security operations in Nigeria. Others. 2026 Fiscal Act backs African Bureau as U.S. AFRICOM tracks Russia's military ambition. And 2027, Atiku's son joins APC, backs Tinubu's re-election. Rivers crisis, Assembly shelves sitting amid rumored plot against Speaker. Alaafin kicks as Makinde installs Ladoja, chairman of Oba's Council. And also some of the headlines here. Armed Forces Day, Tinubu governors celebrate soldiers, fallen heroes. And those are the headlines on the cover page of the Punch newspaper. We will do a lot more justice to these headlines at 10 o'clock when we get into newspaper review. But in the meantime, let's talk about yesterday. Armed Forces Remembrance Day it was. And Vice President Kashim Shettima, Akpabio, Senate President, members of the PDP, Peter Obi himself, and a lot more Nigerians celebrated fallen heroes and those who have decided to lay their lives for the territorial integrity of Nigeria. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about the military. Let's talk about our fallen heroes. Let's talk about their welfare. Let's talk about it all right after this break. Stay with us.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing. And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lawn.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, News breaks and events happens. We bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy, and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not a spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, this is VOP This Morning. Well, let's get into the major topic of discussion. Nigeria marks its annual Armed Forces Remembrance Day with solemn ceremonies across the country as Vice President Kashim Shettima, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, and other dignitaries gathered in Abuja to lay wreaths and release pigeons in symbolic tribute to soldiers who paid the ultimate price defending the nation. The event captured in viral footage was both ceremonial and emotional, reminding citizens of the heavy toll insecurity has taken on military families. While political leaders across party lines joined in paying respect to the fallen heroes, the People's Democratic Party, one of them, urged that their deaths should not be in vain, while Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, called for renewed commitment to the welfare of serving personnel and the families of the fallen ones. Behind the pageantry lies a growing public unease. Nigerians continue to grapple with persistent urgency, banditry, and communal violence, raising doubts about whether the sacrifices of fallen soldiers are translating into lasting peace. Well, we've been joined in the studio here by Mr. Dele Fanimo. Dele is a seasoned reporter and political affairs analyst. We also have beside him Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze Eluche is an attorney at law and public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your presence.
Thank you very much for the invite. Good morning. Welcome, sir.
Okay, and from our Benin House session, we've been joined by Mr. Kevin Ejimudu. Mr. Ejimudu is a political affairs analyst. He's a human rights activist, as well as special advisor to the governor of Delta State. Good morning to you, Mr. Ejimudu, and thanks for joining us on VOP This Morning.
Good morning, everyone in the studio, and good morning, viewers. Thanks for having me.
Beautiful. I will be joined in the course of the show by Barrister Asim Adams. Barrister Adams is a constitutional lawyer as well as political affairs analyst. Now, let's come back to the studio and take it up from there. Barrister Eze, yesterday was Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and it's more like a ritual in Nigeria. We do it every year to commemorate those who paid the supreme sacrifice of trying to put Nigeria together. Now, but I want us to go through a historical lane and see, for the past how many years now, 1970 to now is about 56 years since the end of the Civil War. Now, those people that died trying to put Nigeria together as one, how far, have we lived out their sacrifices in trying to ensure that Nigeria remains one united entity where everybody has a sense of belonging? How far have we achieved that?
Well, thank you very much. See, the reality is this. Remembrance Day is not just for those who died during the Biafran War.
Okay.
It's also for those who have been dying, in the course of the various skirmishes, insurgencies, whether to tackle Boko Haram or the ISWAP and all that. So it's a continuum. We have to continue to remember these people and respect them, because without them, we wouldn't be. These are soldiers who go out to stake their lives, to sacrifice their persons, and then we should not allow this caliber of people to be in penury under whatsoever reasons. All over the world, veterans are highly regarded. and you don't just wait for a particular day to begin to regard them. I mean, because they do what most of us cannot do. They do what most of us shy away from. They wake up, they sleep awake at night, defending the country's territorial integrity from people who are out to undo us. So, but in Nigeria, for instance, we do not begin to appreciate them well. You see veterans begging on the streets. You see veterans who cannot even make ends meet. You, particularly at the lower ranks, you see veterans who are left in abject penury. Most of them even up to the ranks of colonels. They now, after retirement, begin to look for work as security guards in corporate organizations. Okay. And this is totally disgraceful. It should, this current situation now whereby the government lavishes billions on lieutenant generals who retire, or chief of service chiefs who retire, and leaving the bulk of the personnel, of our veterans in abject penury, does not do well for troop morale. It does not do well to even encourage those who are in service. Okay. That's the danger of it. When those who are in service see how you are treating the veterans, they are not motivated. That is perhaps why we see Boko Haram and ISWAP routing our troops. Okay. Despite the fact that we should actually be better than them. Yes.
Okay, so apparently from the picture you have painted now, it looks like this January 15th Armed Forces Remembrance has become a mere ritual that we just do and we move on as a people. Does it look to you like that?
Not even a mere ritual. It is being reduced daily. Like, where we should ask ourselves, where was the president? Where was Bola Tinubu on that day? Guess what? He was in Abu Dhabi attending a so-called sustainability event, which was neither here nor there.
You're discussing Nigeria's problems.
Oh, forget that. What is the problems he was discussing? In fact, the paper he presented was on climate issues. And we know that climate is a global scam. So, can you compare that with remembering those the fallen heroes? And not so long ago, we saw a general who was killed in very pitiable circumstances. I'm talking of General Luba, who was killed in a way that...
He was honored, by the way.
Well, I mean, but the reality is this. Should he have been killed in the first place before being honored? You don't just allow them to be killed and then you honor them. So what I'm trying to say is, we are no longer even taking this as a ritual. You will see the lack of even expressions on the face of the political office holders who were at the so-called Remembrance Day. I mean, it was like they were all like robotic. There was no connection with the reality that we are honoring the veterans who sacrificed their best times of their lives for Nigerians. And rather, we choose to garnish the pockets of the few service chiefs at the expense of the bulk of our...
Okay, all right. Thank you, Barrister Ezeluche. We'll talk about sustainability, global climate change being a scam, maybe some other time.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's bring Mr. Fanimo into this conversation. Dele, I'd like for us to, we are discussing Armed Forces Remembrance Day, so I want us to bring the historical perspective to all of it. Now, it was essentially domiciled on that day because that was the day that the Biafran troops, the Biafran leaders of the Biafran government, and the Nigerian government signed the armistice, that effectively ended the civil war. And after that day, there was also the 3 arrows, which we are all familiar with: reconstruction, reintegration, and rehabilitation, and all of that. Basically, on the altar of having to build Nigeria's unity. In the past 56 years of the end of the civil war, how far do you think that the Nigerian people, the Nigerian state, has tried to bring together all the warring parties to ensure that, look, there is a closure to what happened during the war, and that this remembrance, that people do it in essence of the fact that, look, we are now one as a people. How far have we traveled in the direction of unity?
You see, locating it straight within the ambit of the war will not give us a clear picture of all of this. Now, Nigeria has been able to achieve all of this you have mentioned in the breach in the last 56 years, owing to certain issues that are woven around this. Now, today, at some point, I was not too old at that time, but at least we read in history, and some of our uncles gave us account of some of these happenings then. After the war, there was this conscious effort to make sure that things work out the way it was planned, along with the 3 R's. But somehow, due to political reasons and some other cleavages, everything didn't work as planned. For instance, at some point, ethnicity came in. At some point, politics came in. At some point, religion came in. And those 3 elements had further polarized us rather than unite us to date, to the extent that the victor, they said there was no victor, no vanquished. But then it appears that there is a victor and there is a vanquished, in the sense that there is sort of conscious effort to make sure that a particular section is held down by the other group. And that brought about agitation. And that agitation is what has taken us to this point. It has affected our political life. It has affected our religious life. It has affected our leaning to our ethnic or race as a divide in this. And it is, to me, it's a worrisome development that only God knows where it will end. And I, as a person, am not comfortable with it, because it is agitation, and no conscious effort to redress some of these reasons for agitation.
All right, then. Now, we do have Kelvin Ejimodo joining us virtually. We also have Barrister Asim Adams. Well, let me go to Barrister Asim Adams before going back to Kelvin. Barrister Adams, good morning to you. We'd like for you to unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
To have you. Yes, we can right now. Barrister, let's look at what's been budgeted for defense in the past few years. 2025 figures were about 4.91 trillion naira budgeted for defense, and a large chunk of that was going into welfare. Now, in 2026, we have about 5.4 trillion naira, about that, 5.4 trillion naira, and out of that, 2.39 trillion naira is set aside for welfare, with salaries and, and all of that. But, I mean, the year is just unfolding, but let's look back at 2025. With the monies budgeted, 4.91 trillion, with a huge chunk of that going into welfare, we still had soldiers, abandoning battlefield. We still had videos surfacing online with soldiers saying, look, the 50,000 naira I got was not even able to make me travel back home. So I have to just hang around, the theater of war. And then we have issues with weapons being stolen from stolen and then given to insurgents. How can we effectively solve this problem? And who should be held responsible when soldiers monies are allocated, but those that need the monies don't get the monies? We know how their houses are, the barracks. We know how they are, dilapidated. How can we solve this problem?
Thank you very much. You see, the problem is corruption. Corruption. I have never seen the EFCC prosecute a retired general. I have never seen the EFCC prosecute a retired army general. I have never seen the EFCC prosecute a retired naval or air force officer. But we are aware and know them. Of the generals in the army today are not generals in the war. They are generals in stealing money. How be it that major generals in the Nigerian army build houses at Banana Island, Ikoyi? If you come to Port Harcourt here, you are going to see houses of retired military officers You now ask yourself, did they get this money to build these edifices? It was on news some time ago when we heard that a general who just retired has houses in Dubai. How far with the investigation? We have not seen anything, so it's corruption. What else can we say than corruption? When people do not talk about corruption, it will affect all facets of our lives and living. Is it not the same armed forces that my late uncle, who fought in the Biafran War, in the Civil War, died of penury? Tomorrow the children are still pursuing, is it pension or gratuity they call it for him, as a retired soldier. He fought all his life trying to get, how much was the stipend paid for pension?
The barman.
But people will tell you the money is there. Where's the money? It was embezzled by people who are still alive. When they are sick, they take them to London and America for treatment. With people's pension. Old soldier. I have seen old soldiers eating from the dustbin. Those who fought the Civil War. Retired soldiers who are not lucky to be in the cadre of those who are corrupt and making money. So what are we talking about? So the only way to fight this is to probe them. The Nigerian army is not above being probed. The EFCC cannot even dare do that. Even though under the law, they can probe the Nigerian army. The EFCC cannot do that. Why are they scared of probing them? So this is the problem we're having.
Okay.
It's corruption.
Okay. So you've highlighted the problem. I was
100 trillion.
I was hoping you would take us to the solution, but you've only helped us to highlight the problem.
The solution is to probe them. The solution. The solution, in my own opinion, the solution for me is to probe the Ministry of Defense. Those generals, a particular general, I don't want to say his name. People said he has houses in Dubai. The EFCC should go after people like that and probe them and use them for an example. Is it that if you are a retired general, you are free from going to jail? That is not so.
Barrister Adams, I'm sorry to cut in at this point, but we do understand that the EFCC has also probed former Chief of Army Staff. I'm talking about Lieutenant General Kenneth Minima. That was in 2021 over alleged diversion of 13 billion naira, meant for arms procurement. Two other high-ranking retired generals, Major General A.O. Adetayo and Brigadier General R.I.O.D., were charged as co-defendants in that particular case. You also have Colonel Sambo Dasuki. It's a celebrated case. Major General Emmanuel Atewe, former commander of the Military Joint Task Force, also still undergoing investigations and prosecution by the EFCC. So I think the EFCC is also trying retired major generals. We needed to put that out, so not to create the impression that, look, these major generals are sacred cows.
They are sacred cows, Ms. Okoro. You know why I said they are sacred cows? What happened to the Dasuki case? In fact, of all the people, of all the matters you have mentioned now, can you tell me the particular court these matters are in Nigeria? The matter, all the generals you have listed, the about 5 or 10 lists you have given now, names you have given. Can you tell me the level of their prosecution right now at the various cadre of courts? That will tell you that they are scared. So if you arrest, you investigate, you didn't prosecute, why not go and eat $1 billion entrusted in my care? Right. And I know that because EFCC will just come, rabble rouse, then they go away. So these are the things we are asking.
All right. So thank you very much, Barrister Adams. These are the things we're asking. That solution, well, we wait to see how that one can be implemented. Kelvin Ajumido, let me come to you now. We have a situation where generals are, retired even before their time because there's somebody appointed, to occupy a particular position. So the rest of them are taken out. And then we saw a situation last year, 2025. As generals were retired, monies were given to those generals, $20 million for medicals, bulletproof cars given to them. And about that time, retired generals, retired officers were protesting at the Ministry of Defense, protesting salaries, pension that wasn't being paid to them. And who should we hold responsible here? Is it the government now or the military architecture for not looking at those who have served, retired, and not getting the pensions due unto them? But those at the higher level, forced out, are basically taken care of for the rest of their lives. Well, Kevin, I can hear you exactly, so you might need to unmute your microphone before you speak.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes, of course.
You see, the entire system is rotting. When you have a rotten egg among the crate of eggs, if you don't sort it out early enough, the remaining eggs in the crate will get spoiled. Same way the system has been compromised. Today, you see, first and foremost, the families of the late slain soldiers, how well are they being catered for? It is on that basis that I want to tailor my own observations and texts. Officers who died in the battlefield, what is the value placed on their families? Officers who are amputees, they have been neglected, who were shot in the battlefield, their legs or hands were amputated, they've been neglected by the same military. And when you buy a new broom into the house, the new broom will mock the old broom that your eyes are shut. Little does the new broom knows that by the time they used to sweep every nook and cranny of the house, you also have the short eyes. Same thing happened in the military. So the ones coming in now, they try not to die. They try their best not to even get shot in the battlefield. They can even intentionally avoid a crisis area or a war-prone area for them to stay alive. Because in some circumstances, even when they die, their wives try to get their gratuity. Some generals sleep with their wives. Some sexually abuse their children because of the stipend they want to get that their late father worked for, or their late mother worked for. Until we place a value in human life, as a country, as the armed forces, we cannot break even. That value, knowing fully that if you die in this cause, this is your take-home pay for your family. Okay. Then you see people ready to want to fight tooth and nail to protect our sovereignty.
All right then. All right.
But when they know that in the battlefield, if anything happens to you, in the local parliament, they say on your own, you're on your own. Except when you have a godfather in the system that will push your matter forward, you won't get your check. You won't get the welfare you deserve. You won't get the pay you deserve. You won't get the posting you deserve. Now people lobby for postings. They lobby to go to rivers. They lobby to go to states that they feel they can make money. Nobody wants to go to Borno. Nobody wants to go to Zamfara. They intentionally look for every means to pay high money to lobby their way out of it. They want to get good postings. But remember, we swore an oath to defend our territorial integrity, and that should be done. But more so, the system must not frustrate them as well.
All right.
Thank you very much. When you pick a man for your tribe and promote him overnight, and you force other generals to retire, and those who perhaps they are tactical, more prone to fight in war areas.
All right then.
But you compel them to retire, and they go doing nothing. They are docile.
All right then. Thank you very much.
History of generals without history of war.
All right, thank you very much, Kelvin. Thank you. Let's bring this back to the studio, so we just go around again before we wrap this conversation up. Barrister Eze Luche, yes, some try not to die because they know that nothing really will be given to the families that they will leave behind. I have friends who are soldiers. I've seen them come back and say, look, I am done. I mean, I've had to go to Zambia, Sudan, and all of that with little or nothing. Even those that managed to buy good-looking cars are questioned when they get back to the barracks. Like, why would you drive this kind of car to the barracks? And then you see them leave the military, go into logistics, start transporting farm produce or helping people to purchase cars from Cotonou and the rest. They go into other business. Why can't we have security firms on the side that can employ these people when they leave active service so they can continue doing what they know how to do, what they've done since they were 18 or thereabouts, what they have become proficient in, continue to do it, and then provide security for the politicians as against using our police or DSS. Why can't we do that? Is there a law that says, you can establish that? Is there a law that controls that? If there is, are we using it effectively?
No, I think the issue is the military or the security personnel has been over-politicized. And that politicization has made it impossible to even manage them properly, even when they become like retired. The system does not even think of catering for them. There should be an armed forces. There is an armed forces rehabilitation center which prepares them for retirement. But then you prepare them for retirement, then what happens next? There is no empowerment schemes for soldiers. There is no real training because it's a 6-month retirement at somewhere in Oshodi or so. It's a 6-month retirement process, and then at the end of the day, they come out without skills, only aware of the violence. They have to control violence. So the issue is the Nigerian state has not prepared to cater for its.
Come out without skills. The military itself is a community. I know. Right there, you have everything. You have electricians. You have doctors, nurses.
Skills that are useful in a civilian setup. Maybe if they're only trained in weaponry and all that stuff, and there is no transition to be able to use skills that can be relevant in the society, then it becomes a problem. But the reality is this. In Nigeria, we use the wrong words. We use corruption to address those in military. But you see, when senior officers have sat over funds that should make the soldiers functional in the battlefield, and that leads to death, the issue should not be corruption. It should be a minimum of manslaughter. Yes, if you have seized funds or you have misappropriated funds that now lead to soldiers in the field dying because they don't have arms and ammunition, the charge should not be corruption. You have caused the death of some people. So if we begin to probe, or not just probe, if we begin to put proper charges on retired senior officers who have made people in the battlefield lose their lives, and that is the main cause of these deaths, being pummeled by Boko Haram or the terrorists, is because when they get to the battlefield, they discover that they have either their guns are not really working well, or they have minimum ammunition, and then they get killed. And you only talk of corruption? No.
Yes. We had one of our guests here, a retired colonel in the Nigerian army, who said, look, that the problem should not be located within the military. That is a political decision, by people in government, politicians.
Yes.
When the military doesn't perform well, as far as the war on terror is concerned, that we shouldn't hold the military responsible. Yes. That we should hold the civilian authorities, the president, national security advisor, minister of defense, and all of that.
Yes.
Do you share that idea?
No, I don't. You know why I don't do that? Even in the military schools, they are told that they are only to obey lawful orders. Like, let me give you a critical example. The soldier who backed down from the school in Kebbi State and allowed terrorists to overrun the place less than 45 minutes, how can he say it was political issues? Somebody gave the order. And if your commanding officer gives you an unlawful order, you have a right to say no. So you cannot, as a soldier, you are trained as a professional. It's like a medical doctor saying he lost a life because of the Minister of Health. Come on, you don't give that excuse. You are a professional, you are trained, you are in the field, and then you hear of an unlawful order from somewhere. Your duty is to say no, that's an unlawful order. I agree there will be repercussions, but then come out to the public and say what happened. This was why you were removed away, and then you watch what happens to that politician. But the system whereby you allow, and because of fear of political office holders, and maybe the perks you expect to get from them, you allow your professionalism to be retarded, and you now say it was the military, these politicians. We don't agree, we don't buy it.
At that point, an order is given. How do you determine whether it's lawful or unlawful? Isn't it a problem of interpretation based on the circumstances?
Mostly.
I'm sorry. Now let's create a scenario. Now,
okay.
You are, you've mounted a guard.
Yes.
Probably you are all these major.
Yes.
For instance, and a colonel calls you. Probably the brigade commander, who is also a brigadier, calls you to pull out.
Yes.
Will you resist that?
No.
And after 45 minutes, there's an incident, and maybe you didn't have an idea that that incident was coming.
No, the box does not stop with the man who pulled up, who responded to that order from the military, because he didn't know what was going to happen in the next 45 minutes.
Okay.
But the person who gave the order is the one that should be held accountable, and not the Minister of Defense. But now, some of it is political, though, because if the president, for instance, goes ahead and nominates defective ministers whose antecedents are known as Minister of Defense, like in the current instance where the former governor of Zamfara State, who the current governor has always been saying was in bed with terrorists, you make him your Minister of State for Defense. So at times it's political, but when the soldiers who are professionals, they should be able to stand up to their call of duty and say, no, this is a wrong order, I will not obey.
Barrister, let me take you a bit on accountability. Why is it so difficult for senior, army officials to be held accountable, especially when systematic or operational mistakes lead to the deaths of some of these young soldiers on the battlefield? Because we see a lot of them who are brave enough to come out on social media and decry the deplorable conditions of service and all of that. But what happens at the end of the day? Sometimes they are just shut down. Sometimes they're even relieved of their duties.
That's
so
right.
why is it so difficult to keep these people accountable?
Well, I said it was politicization of the military. Like not too long ago, we heard of the president Bola Tinubu trying to double promote his ADC to the rank of a general while still serving as ADC. Now, those kind of things destroy the ethic of the military. And that is what has happened for several decades now. Right from the time of Babangida, when we had scenarios whereby colonels, who were state governors, were buying tires for their senior in rank. So the military in Nigeria, like most parts of our country, of our national ethics, has been destroyed. I mean, and it's a continuum. So the people have to now shore up the system. Like what I'm trying to say is this: the people who realize that their lives are at stake, we should rally around general or soldiers who have lived up to expectations, because they will be dealt with by the system. The system will try to punish them for speaking up, but then when they punish up, let the community rally around them. Particularly those who are like complaining of their rations when they're in the field. When they show the videos, the military high command sacks them. But it is the duty of the people to say, this is a real officer, and not you guys who are in Abuja enjoying all the perks of duty. It is the people who are defending us that we should protect. And then Nigerians should become aware of this and begin to move. Otherwise, we'll have a continuation of this norm, which is very defective.
Don't you think there's been a disconnect between the people and the soldiers, where the people feel these guys don't like us, this guy terrorizes us?
Yes.
I mean, when they're driving a convoy, they bring out their whips, they whip your vehicle. If you've experienced that, would you want to come out and fight for them?
No, but
how do we solve that problem of disconnect?
Yes, we agree it's a general, but then you have to, who do you prefer? Would you prefer the Boko Haram or the soldiers? I mean, that's a stark question. So we always have that balance to strike that balance. So yes, some of them go overboard in trying to show their insanity, but then we also realize that they are taking a risk for ourselves, for us. So the ones who are living up to expectations, we must try to rally around them and then support them in any way. What they do in other clients is you support your military, corporate bodies give them free tickets, free bus tickets, free airline tickets. We don't do that in Nigeria. And you want them to go and sacrifice themselves for your life? Come on.
But don't you think the crisis has overwhelmed the capacity of our Nigerian military?
No, it has not.
It hasn't.
It hasn't. It's just that there is a disconnect. I mean, the military hierarchy at the top brass are politicians.
Okay.
Like bringing back Musa to come and be Minister of Defense.
Okay, now that's the question of disconnect. Let's bring back Dele into this conversation. Dele, I want us to return to the issue of manpower development within the military, system, the military architecture. We have it on record that in the past 10 years, the last 10 years, we have about 500 generals of the Nigerian army retired. Wow. Now, when we retire them, there's been a debate about their value after retirement, whether some of them don't even have opportunities to get into, paramilitary service, like provide security services and all of that, because of the system being conscripted. Now, the issue is that, how has that helped us, especially when we see when someone is promoted, about 30 people are taken out? How has that affected the war on insecurity? Does it help us in saying, okay, we have a badge that has been corrupted because they are up there. Now let us bring new ones and see whether we can use them and their innocence, so to say, to fight the war. Or does it look like these people that are new now, that we're bringing in, have the capabilities, the new technology that the old ones don't have? If you put together all of this, how has it helped us in fighting the war on terror?
You see, the generals we talked about, they are in actual fact not retired. They are always on the reserve list. That is why, if you are a general, if you are being rolled out of the barracks, you go with your uniform. Because you are on the reserve list, you can be called upon. And it has happened recently.
Okay.
Some retired generals were called back. Sort of a contract arrangement. Because there are some people that are specialized in certain areas that you may not have too many of them in service, that you need somebody with experience to come in. They may just be involved in strategy and not the actual war prosecution. Okay. So that's one. Then two, on this issue of transitioning to the civilian life. You see, part of the responsibilities of civil defense is to register private security companies. And the retired military officers are encouraged, either as individuals or coming together as a body, to register these private security outfits. And we have many of them, and they're still thriving. And then also, if you position yourself, one thing again is, those days, I recall that there was this particular officer that he came out from captain to major promotion course in Russia. And the certificate was, these officers are untrainable. And they became head of state. These are people that they never had, you see, if you want to know those who have garnered enough laurels, both operationally and administratively, look at their medals of honor and look at their names. If you see a brigadier general without FSS, those names are not for fun. Those insignias are not for fun. Those medals are not for fun. It is after you pass those courses that you get this medal. And you know that there have been head of state in this country that never had that.
Now, the direct question is, if we have all of these values, how has it impacted on the war on terror?
You see, the point is, the ones there at the theater of war, what is the criteria for posting these officers? Is it on merit or because I belong to? Do you know that today it is convenient if you tell a general to choose between Niger Delta and Sambisa, in spite of the risk involved in Sambisa, he will choose Sambisa because he knows what comes from Sambisa may not come from Niger Delta. Do you know that I told you this story, that in transit from Dubai to Nigeria, both of us were coming from Bangladesh, but we didn't know ourselves until when I got to UAE. And we got talking, and he introduced himself. He happens to be a soldier, at that time, a captain, flight lieutenant, equivalent of a captain. He said, during this war, as at that time, that majors were making thrifts, which we would call ajo, 3 million naira every month. What? Now, if a major is making thrifts of 3 million naira every month, and as at that time, a major salary was less than 400,000.
So you start to wonder where he's getting.
Where is he getting this 2.6 million naira from? So that speaks to that question you have raised. We have seen in this country that those who go after terrorists are hacked down, either retired, court-martialed, or even sentenced. So what incentive are you going to give the next person that is going to be posted?
Well, big question there. What incentive would you give the next person to be posted? Well, let's, Barrister Asim Adams, let's get your concluding thoughts on this one before we move on to the next conversation.
What I will say here is that, yes, what I will say here is that the Nigerian Army or the Nigerian Armed Forces need a rejig just like every facet of the Nigerian state. There's corruption there, there's negligence, and also there's wickedness in high places in these areas I've just mentioned. So we need a rejig. Let us reorganize everything Nigerian, including the Nigerian Armed Forces. That is just my take on this, please.
All right, thank you very much. Kelvin Ajimudo, your concluding thoughts, please.
In my point of view is we must prioritize the life and welfare of our armed forces. And more so, the armed forces also, they must prioritize doing their job to defend the citizenry and the sovereignty of our country, not compromising along ethnic lines, religious lines, and political lines. That's my submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now let's get into another conversation. Nigeria's porous borders fueling insecurity. This is coming from the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, retired. Let's talk about this when we come back. Stay with us.
It's still BOP this morning, and thank you for still staying with us. So now let's go into more stories. And then the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, has raised an alarm over the country's porous borders, warning that unchecked movement of arms and militants are fueling insecurity nationwide. His concerns were underscored by fresh violence in Delta State, where suspected Fulani militants unleashed mayhem on a local community, leaving residents in fear and demanding urgent government intervention. At the same time, the defense headquarters clarified that the government does not pay ransom to kidnappers, despite widespread public assumptions, insisting that such claims only embolden criminal networks. These revelations highlight the deepening crisis of trust between the citizens and the state, as ordinary Nigerians grapple daily with kidnappings, banditry, and communal clashes that seem to defy official assurances of safety. Amid this climate of insecurity, political commentator Dele Momodu has stirred controversy by suggesting that President Bola Tinubu could be toppled in the 2027 elections if INEC is closely monitored, a remark that has sparked heated debates about electoral credibility and governance. He said in the face of insecurity and economic downtime, internal vigilance can restore confidence in democratic institutions. Barrister, what do you think about this? Do you share Dele's sentiments?
Thank you very much. I think it's unfortunate coming from him. I mean, the language used is very anachronistic to democratic precepts. You don't say topple. Topple, what do you mean by that? I mean, we're in a political era. If anybody feels like winning elections, you go to the field and canvass for votes and not topple. I don't know whether you understand what topple means. Topple relates more with military coup. I mean, see, that is the worrisome mindset with some of our politicians. They talk of capturing a state. They talk of it is our turn. You know, they don't talk of even governing to elicit the confidence of the people. So Mr. Momodu's comments there were sad. And maybe in a serious crime, he should be invited to explain what he means by topple. But then when I also heard what you read about the Minister of Defense and his utterances. They are also sad in the sense that when you say that the porous borders, for goodness sake, we have a customs office, we have immigrations, we have borders, people who should be at the borders. When you don't keep your borders guards, when the border is loose, it's because some people are not doing their jobs. Like for instance, the customs, you see them coming to mount roadblocks deep inside Benin, Asaba. What the hell are they doing there? They should be at the borders, trying to guard the border or the immigration officials. But you find them extorting from people right inside the communities. The issue of insecurity, I hope this is not the trend General Musa will take. Because I know he's very eloquent. I've watched some of his interviews. He speaks very well. If you look at him, you think everything is okay. But the reality is this. He knows that the whole thing is messed up. And the bulk of the problem lies in what they spend the humongous sums allocated to the Ministry of Defense for. Over 5 trillion in the current budget. And meanwhile, there's little or no drone facilities. This is the basic. Even as a cameraman, you know you have a better view when you have drones. But the military, the police have minimal number of drones.
Barrister,
yes, so it's sad.
Barrister, technically speaking, who should we hold responsible for the porous border situations? I mean, between the customs, the immigration, and the government itself. When I say government, I look at the president, I look at the presidency, and I look at institutions that should provide like customs and immigration. Between these three institutions, who should we hold responsible? When military comes to tell us, oh, people are infiltrating the country because we have porous borders, who should be held responsible?
My response to most of these issues of who do we hold responsible is Mr. President. And the reason is obvious. The buck stops at the president's table. And he has been instrumental in most of the inefficiencies. Why do I say that? You see at the customs, even the police, Mr. President has tweaked the laws and retained officials at the head of these agencies whose tenure has lapsed, who legally should have no business being there. I'm talking about the IGP of Police Ebetoku and the Customs CG. They don't have any business being in office. They were retained despite the laws of the land. And you can give whatever reasons. Now, if these guys you put in the helm of office were performing wonderfully well and you retain them, then there's no issues. But they are performing abysmally poor and the system is so rotten and you retain them. So what is the issue? Now, when the rank and file of these agencies see that their bosses, who are not doing any magic at the top, are retained, what does that give? That tells them, okay, look, the issue is not productivity. The issue is not what you do. The issue is, are you able to grease the palms? Are you able to be in the good books of the man at the top? So that lack of objectivity, that lack of meritocracy is what fuels and funds the poor borders.
Okay, so the buck stops at the president's table.
That's right.
Should we build walls around porous borders, like Trump tried to do in Mexico? Is that a way to travel? Is it going to help our situation? Because we always get this complaint from military heads. This is not the first time we are hearing. At the point, we were told that we have 1,978 unmanned borders across the Northeast alone.
You see, I've been to that area about 2 or 3 times. I wonder if the total budget of infrastructure in Nigeria can build a wall around this country. And besides, what will wall serve? Can't people scale the wall? Even the wall between Mexico and America, they still scale it. Despite the electric barbed wires, they still dug holes to find their way to America. The only thing that can be done in this instance is to deploy technology. Technology will take away all these. It's just like you want to build a house. To dig, you are taking 10 people to dig. What 10 people will do in one day, excavator will do it in less than 1 hour. So we shouldn't. All these monies that are budgeted, can't we deploy them to get technology that will man our borders? Then again, one thing I've seen in those borders we mentioned, particularly in the Northeast, it's so seamless, so porous because of political reasons. I have covered the election in Borno once. You discover that those who vote in Borno are, in fact, 60% of those who vote in Borno are not Nigerians. In fact, they move trucks with tons of cash across the border to bring voters from Niger, from Chad, to vote.
Even during
that's why you raised some questions the other day when registration started. You said a war-ravaged state like Borno is having more people registering than even the one that is experiencing some sort of relative peace.
During the Buhari regime, we saw I think that was 2019 election. We saw a governor from Niger State come to Katsina State to campaign for Buhari. From Niger Republic.
Yes. That's why he was saying that he wanted to build rail to Maradi.
No, he wasn't saying, he actually built.
I said that, at least he started by saying it before building it, though he has not completed it.
Okay.
You know, what we are saying is, and the cultural belief around that area will not make border security effective.
Now, to be very
because
specific,
they see the Niger person as their own.
Okay.
And majority of them, we have seen a former head of state in this country that his lineage was traced to Niger.
Now, to be very specific, how do we apply technology in border control? Is it that the drone or whatever will stop people from coming into Nigeria, or do we use it side by side with human?
We use it side by side with human elements.
Okay.
You understand? For instance, instead of saying you stay here, the moment you sight abnormal movement, you deploy your immigration officials. And you know one funny thing that I discovered when I went to this Borno, there was a day I was traveling in a commercial bus. Did you know that these immigration people, I don't know how they were trained. If they stop a vehicle of about 18 passengers, they don't just ask questions. They pick out a non-Nigerian. They never missed it. That is to tell you that they know Nigerians, they know non-Nigerians. But because of the socio-cultural belief and because of political reasons, they accommodate these people. They allow them to come in and go out. Why is it that Toji is still ravaging the Northwest? Because they see Toji as their own. And they give him emotional support. But when the heat gets too hot, they start shouting.
But I don't want to believe that the problem is really about lack of equipment, because we'll be shocked to find out that they do have those equipment. But I feel that once the structure of the Nigerian military, even the customs, who are directly, tasked with securing our borders, once the structure is riddled with so much corruption, how much can these so-called equipment be put to good use?
Let's be clear. Customs at the border.
Mm-hmm.
The responsibility of customs at the border is to ensure that illicit goods are not allowed into the country. Economic problems will not arise as a result of importing illicit goods illegally. But it is the job of the immigration to ensure that those undesirable elements and even illegal immigrants are not allowed. Now that Niger has opted out of ECOWAS, that ECOWAS protocol has ceased to protect citizens of Niger. So a Nigerian coming to Nigeria would have to explain with proper documentation to ensure that his stay is guaranteed in Nigeria. But what you have is, I tell you, these people, they see those borderlines as Oyibo creation that does not matter to them.
So it's right to say there is no synergy between the customs and even the immigrations and even the military. Am I right to say
What is the business of the military in manning border? No, it's not
I
that
mean, in
job.
ensuring the safety, the security of our borders to ensure that some of these elements don't come.
It is only when the people, the immigrations are overwhelmed that you now invite the military.
All right, so thank you very much. Now let's go to Barrister Asim Adams now. The minister talked about violence in Delta State. Now we know that what is going on in Delta State is very appalling. You know, Delta State is having its own share, Edo State is having its own share of violence. Kidnappings are going on in Edo and Delta and the rest of them. Now, my question is, isn't this just passing the buck? You know, is the minister acting like a political appointee? If he knows where these people are or who they are, or, you know, shouldn't he give the order? And what is stopping that order from being given? Barrister Asim Adams.
Too much. The chief of or the defense minister should be ashamed of himself. The defense minister should be ashamed of himself. And he should even resign, even though he was recently appointed.
Why do you think, why
am I saying this?
A lot of Nigerians celebrated his appointment.
That is what I want to tell you now.
Okay.
That is what I want to tell you. That is what I want to tell you. He should resign his position. It means he does not know what is happening and what he has to do. He shouldn't come on air to begin to tell us this is a problem, this is a solution. He's not an analyst. He's a minister that is appointed to do his job. We are analysts. We are the ones that we analyze, tell you the pros and cons. Not for him to come, he should be proactive and do his job. Then we can analyze. Now, let me tell you what. The section creating the Nigerian Army, 218, 1999 Constitution, says that the duty of the Nigerian Army is to secure our territorial borders and integrity. Now, the Fulanis coming into Nigeria, they have said they are not from Nigeria, they are from Senegal. If the armies were very, very proactive, no Fulani, insurgent can come into Nigeria, or bandit or terrorist. Two is that the Nigerian military, the Nigerian paramilitary needs reorientation, and patriotism has to be driven into them. I give you reason. India has a border with Pakistan, and part of the border with India and Pakistan is fenced. But there is no Indian border guard or Pakistani border guard due to patriotism that we allow a bag of rice, for instance, to cross the border to India or to Pakistan, vice versa, illegally. They cannot do it because it's patriotism. They know that any mistake in Pakistan, they cannot accept such. Talk less of citizens of Pakistan crossing into India illegally. The people there will not allow it. Nigeria has a porous border with Niger Republic. Niger Republic is a hostile, nation to Nigeria, especially with this, military taking over government. But you still find Nigerians passing through the border into Nigeria because of lack of patriotism of our border people who man the borders. 2, corruption. Let me tell you, corruption has eaten deep into the fabrics.
All right, how can that
if you travel, I have done that.
How can patriotism be achieved? What can be done to ensure that
reorientation?
Nigerians become
reorientation.
Okay.
Reorientation. National Orientation Agency, what are they doing? Let me tell you, people don't understand this. For you to serve as a member of the armed forces, for you to serve in the paramilitary, you are making sacrifices. It's not everybody that will go there. If I want to be a soldier or a police officer in Nigeria today, I know that I will not earn like a bank manager earn. I am sacrificing to help my nation to secure its borders. That the payment I may get may not be up to what I am supposed to get, but because of patriotism to secure my country, and based on that, I might get national honor and award, not monetary. That is patriotism. You sacrifice for your country. That is the thing. It should be driven into this. If anybody coming into the Nigerian army, that's why they don't force you to join them. They don't force you to join the police. They don't conscript you to join immigration. You go there because it is voluntary from your mind to go there because you know that you are going there to sacrifice. So this should be brought and be taught in our military schools. That is about corruption. I was talking about corruption. If you pass through, when I was in Lagos recently, before I came to Port Harcourt, we drove through Badagry to Lagos. Just like Fanimo said, the immigration officers there, if you are 10 or 15 in the vehicle, they will identify people who are non-Nigerians. I don't know how they do that, but it is psychology. They will tell you, come down, let us see your passport. But look at what happens now. The moment you come down and they know that you are a Ghanaian, the moment you give them 5,000 naira, they will take you back inside the vehicle and go. 2, in the vehicle we entered, the drivers, they stop at every immigration point. They will tell the immigration man, I have only 3. I have 3 passports. What does that mean? Is that they have 3 foreign passports in their vehicle. I heard them, I challenged them. They have 3 passports, that's what they call it. They have 3 passports in my vehicle. Then the man begin to negotiate with the immigration person at the border post. He will not do what? They don't have money to them, they allow us to pass.
Oh my.
I also saw people who smuggled rice. Now a van was coming into Nigeria with smuggled goods. The people at the border said, how many bags do you have? The man said it's 100 bags. Okay, I will give you for 80. They calculated and got their money. Corruption, that is the second one.
Okay.
As the case may be.
Then
intelligence gathering. Intelligence.
All right.
Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, intelligence. See, there must be intelligence gathering within the border post and the area there. And how do you gather intelligence? There must be government presence in the border towns. The border towns of every nation, they take it very seriously. You see government presence. If you travel from Nigeria to Benin, you will see that immediately you are crossing into Benin, you see government heavy presence there. Intelligence gathering, they are always there. They are very upright and they want to check 1 or 2 to make sure that you don't infiltrate.
All right.
But on the other side of the Nigerian divide, nothing there. There's no government presence. There is nothing. All you have is just person who put log on the highway to do what they are doing.
All right, Barrister.
So if you have this kind of situation,
we're running out of
your borders will be porous.
Yes, thank you very much for your summation there. Patriotism, corruption, and intelligence gathering. Those are points that you have raised, things that should be done to ensure that we achieve more, especially in defending our borders. Well, thank you very much. Kelvin Ejimido, let's just take a minute, get your reaction to this one, and we'll quickly segue into the next conversation. Kelvin, please go ahead.
Yes, I think people must be held accountable. You see, in the Nigerian system, nobody is held accountable. You can do what you want to do. You go scot-free. When people are held accountable, we will have an headway. You that ought to protect our borders, if you compromise, you'll be dealt with. You'll be arrested. You'll be detained. You'll be tried. When we see that officers are being tried and they are serving jail term, the young ones are coming. They'll be proactive. These laws are there. Then the Minister of Defense saying that our borders are pro. He said this while he was chief of defense staff. What did he do about it? Nothing. Now he's a minister working with the president directly. It should tell them to go and secure our borders.
As a minister, how much can he really do other than take orders? He's not taking orders, even as a minister.
Even as a minister, he reports to the president directly. He should also know that, okay, if they bring these finances, secure the borders. Securing borders is very simple. You have air intelligence, ground intelligence, and you have 24-hour mobile drones that monitor human advancement. Who's coming, who's going out. We have people moving from we have a porous border with Cameroon. We have a porous border with Chad. We have a porous border with Niger. And a whole lot of these people, they come in, they go out.
All right then, Kelvin. Well, thank you very much. Now, let's just run into the next conversation. Use the remainder of the time we have here for the next conversation. The federal government has dismissed reports claiming it suspended tax laws, insisting that deductions such as stamp duties on bank transactions remain valid and are not new taxes but long-standing statutory charges. Now, this clarification comes as commercial banks announced they will begin charging 7.5% value-added tax, VAT, on mobile transfers and POS transaction fees, sparking outrage among citizens who already feel burdened by multiple levies. Well, let's talk about this. Now, there was this, feels like a misunderstanding because Mr. Zach Adedeji tried to clarify that, but there was a message put out. And if we can, let's have that one up on our screen. That message from one of the fintech companies, MoneyPoint, actually sent a message to some of its customers. And while we get that on the screen, I'm going to read it out. This is what the message contains, which, of course, some would say misled Nigerians into thinking these monies will be taken directly from their accounts. But the NRS is saying, no, it will be taken from what the banks, get from you. But this is what MoneyPoint sent to customers. It says, we would like to, dear valued customer, we would like to inform you of an upcoming government-endorsed regulatory change regarding value-added tax. From Monday, 19th January 2026, we are required to collect a 7.5% VAT to be remitted to the Nigerian Revenue Service, formerly known as the Federal Inland Revenue Service. VAT will apply to certain banking services that include electronic banking charges, such as mobile banking fees, transfers, USSD transaction fees, and card issuance fee. Services that do not attract VAT include interest on deposits and savings. And then it goes on and on. So this is not a price increase by MoneyPoint. He said, please note, this is not a price increase by MoneyPoint. So basically exonerated itself from this. So does it seem like somebody's not telling the truth here, or somebody's trying to cover up something? Because if MoneyPoint sent this out, making it, okay, what impression do you have from this message, actually?
Well, my general impression about the whole taxation issue is that Nigerians are taking too much for granted. Section 1, Subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution says that Nigeria will not be governed except as provided by the Constitution. And this Constitution provides that there are specific ways the laws can be made. The National Assembly will pass a bill, then Mr. President will sign the bill that was passed, and not wake up one morning and mutilate a document and say, sign this as a tax act. So all this noise being made is that Nigerians have forgotten the basics, that there is no new tax act whatsoever, under whatever coloration. And if we don't begin to resist this issue as it is, because the National Assembly says what was signed by Mr. President is not what we passed. It's as basic as that. If we make the mistake of allowing these characters to get away with this, you know what will happen next time? The constitution will be altered, and they will try to govern Nigeria with that altered constitution. So the issue of 7%, 5% is not it should not even be countenanced in any way whatsoever. The reality is, the new tax act Mr. Tinubu signed, whether it was re-gazetted or to be reviewed or whatever, is at variance with what the National Assembly passed, and that is where it ends. That means there is no new tax act, and that means that Nigerians should, the same way we were paying tax before the so-called new tax act was signed into law, is how we should continue. And that is irrespective of Mr. Tinubu's pronouncements on January 1, when he claimed that the enforcement of the act will commence. Now, why we have to take this very seriously is this. Under this their so-called new tax act, the government can do whatsoever. They can come and seize your property without even going through the courts. And if we allow this to go through, companies like Money Point.
Are you sure about that?
No, yes, I am, because I've seen the so-called new tax act, which I know is a forgery of what was passed by the National Assembly. Now, the consequence is this: companies like Money Point, banks will continue to dish out confusing reports because the entire system is confused. And if we don't address it for what it is, that there's an attempt to govern Nigeria different from what the law provides, then we'll have this trouble continue.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Barrister Eze Luche, for your summation there. Barrister Sim Adams, let me quickly come to you and then we'll wrap this up. Why do we have this confusion? Shouldn't government, NRS, and, okay, unfortunately, okay. Now, let me stay with you, Daily Fanimo. Shouldn't government, explain all of this to Nigerians before there is the outcry, before it feels like they're trying to repair something that's been spoiled? Because if the banks are putting out an information and Nigerians are confused and Nigerians are saying, oh no, this is going to kill us, and then government will come and say, oh no, it's not like that, it was misunderstood. Shouldn't they explain ahead of time?
You see, the time of that pronouncement and the effective date, which is Monday next week, is too short for an average Nigerian to really get the full import of these new 7.5% VAT on electronic transfer. Money Point is trying to be clever by half. What that law states is that...
Or you don't think that's what they understood?
They are only trying to be smart. You see, that law does not take a penny from the individual's account. This is the way it works. From the deduction on your USSD transaction, or electronic transaction, if the bank takes 300 naira from you, for instance, it is from that 300 that government wants to take 7.5. But Money Point and some other banks will not want to lose that 7.5, which is about maybe 30 naira. They want to pass it back to the individual account holder. That's why they are coming up with that kind of statement. It's a lie. The truth about it is, government is not taking money from us. Government is taking money from what the bank is taking from us.
Government is taking money from what the bank is taking from the people.
Yes! Which is VAT.
Okay. All right then. Unfortunately, we've lost connection to Kelvin Jimudo, so we have to wrap up this conversation here. But we do appreciate Kelvin for his contribution, and let's also appreciate the gentleman in the studio here. We've been speaking with Daily Fanimo, a reporter, a public affairs commentator, and of course, Eze Luche Esquire, attorney at law and public affairs commentator. We also had Adams Asim Esquire, legal practitioner, civil rights activist, former spokesperson, Chief Beatrice Atubo, Peter Obi campaign organization, Labour Party, Rivers State 2023, and also Kelvin Ejimodo, political public affairs commentator, human rights activist, a special advisor to the governor of Delta State. Well, that's it on the show today. I am Moses Humphrey. We'll go into the papers and bring you paper review. Join us then at 10 o'clock. Bye for now.
2564 Atlantic Tower.
What happens in the hush behind hangar doors? Who signs the papers that gamble with lives? Which truths were grounded before they even ever had wings? If you've ever buckled a seatbelt at 30,000 feet, if you've ever stared out of that tiny window and wondered who's really in control of the skies, it isn't just flight, it's power, it's politics, it's pressure sealed in steel. We're peeling back the clouds from runway risks to sky-high secrets. We're diving deep where most dare not to look. Aviation Scope, every Sunday at 7 p.m. only on Voice of the People TV. We don't just report, we reveal. We don't just ask, we uncover. Because when it comes to the skies, ignorance is turbulence. Aviation Scope, the sky isn't the limit, it's just the beginning.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice. In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react, understand. Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more, tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
In a world where power shakes with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing. And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world, because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
Behind every broken desk lies a broken promise. Education shapes the nations. But who is asking the right questions? Introducing Edu Dialogue, the show that goes beyond the surface, exposes the cracks, the corruption, and the silence in Nigeria's education system. Edu Dialogue, Saturdays, 3 p.m., only on VOP TV. We break the biggest stories, from missing funds to policy failures. We ask the tough questions and demand real answers. Edu Dialogue, this Saturday, 3 p.m. on Voice of the People Television.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television, where your health has a voice.
Africa is on the move, a continent of rising voices, untold stories, and powerful transformations. From the streets of Lagos to the heart of Nairobi, from the mines of Congo to the tech labs of Cape Town, the African story is being written every day. Bold, dynamic, unstoppable. This is Africa News on Voice of the People Television. We don't just bring you the news. We analyze and bring you Africa's heartbeat, the politics that shapes our nations, the economies that drives our future, the cultures that defines who we are, the voice that must be heard. Africa News, Africa's voice, Africa's future. Where Africa speaks, the world listens.
The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as they hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.